Okay, hey everybody. Thank you so much for joining this morning. I really appreciate it. So I'm very excited for today's webinar. Today we have Tarun Agarwal, who is the Director of Data and AI at Motifworks. He's hosting Leveraging AI and Machine Learning with Power BI. He's put in quite a lot of time into this, and I'm sure you will all learn a lot. So without further ado, here he is. Tarun, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Nisab. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
All right. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you are attending this webinar today. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to attend this webinar. I hope you find it useful and able to take at least something out of this webinar from today. So today we'll be talking about how can we incorporate modern techniques like artificial intelligence and machine learning inside BI tools like Power BI. So quick background about myself. I am the Director of Data AI at Motifworks. Motifworks is a Microsoft Center of Excellence for Accion Labs, where we are solely focused on Microsoft technologies and Azure Cloud to help our customers adopt with cloud adoption and accelerate innovation in their applications. Prior to Motifworks, I have 20 plus years of experience strategizing and delivering data analytics solutions to leverage organization data asset as a strategic asset, as well as enable data culture in the organization. And at Motifworks, we are focused on modernizing data platforms to leverage cloud, AI, ML kind of techniques. Uh, Quick background about Accion Labs. Accion Labs is an innovation engineering company which has a global presence and 6 development centers. We work with hundreds of clients to transform their businesses through emerging technologies. Some of the services we provide as a part of this innovation engineering and data analytics is empower companies with innovation, build a data-driven culture and enable data-driven organization, monetize data assets, develop and drive operational excellence and other things. So today's topic of the webinar is how can we leverage AI and ML, machine learning kind of technologies through Power BI without people being a data scientist. Typically, when we talk about technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, we think about data scientists. That if I have to use AI and ML, I need data scientists in my organization. And not everybody has the bandwidth of data and the scientists available. And does it mean that companies who do not have enough data scientists available, they cannot leverage these technologies for delivering data insights to the organization? So what are some of the options available to bring in these technologies without having a lot of resident data scientists in the organization? And for those organization and areas where data scientists are available, how can they collaborate with the business users and users to deliver and the combined insights through Power BI? And what are the ways options available in Power BI to overall democratize the data insights delivered through advanced analytics like AI throughout the organization? That's really the topic of an agenda of today's webinar. So a quick refresher for everybody before we start talking about AI and ML kind of techniques about Power BI. So Power BI is an end user BI tool that allows you to experience your data, which could be any data, anywhere and any way you want, whether the data that generates in cloud using SaaS applications like Salesforce or NetSuite, or the data which is generating within your firewalls from your systems of records or business applications, could be ERP or any other applications that you use, and allow you to consume those data insights that you're going to generate on anywhere you want, whether it is you're trying to look for data insights in Power BI on a browser or on a mobile platform, or if you are happy Excel customer and you would continue to use Microsoft Excel as your delivery platform to generate, to consume all the data insights, that's not possible. So Power BI allows you to experience any data anyway, anywhere you want. And typically, since it's an end user BI tool, what does an end user really needs? An end user needs access to to its data, whether it is coming from any of the data sources, able to do the data cleaning, data wrangling, data massaging, to prepare the data which is ready to be generated. And when we are dealing with data from multiple different data sources, create data mashups by combining the different data sets. So you can create data insights across different data coming from different data sources. Explore the data and then create visual presentation of the data to create really a storytelling around what the data is telling you. And once you are able to identify a story around your data, you would like to share and collaborate with others in the organization. So those are all the typical end user needs when they are trying to leverage a tool like Power BI. And Power BI enables to achieve that using the tools and technologies they provide. But before we'll talk about evolution of Power BI, of the BI industry as a whole. But before we do that, I think let's understand our audience a little better by launching first poll to understand where you guys are in your organization of leveraging Power BI. So you should be able to see on your screen a quick poll that talks about um, where you are. So please take some moment to provide me your feedback about how do you use Power BI today. And Rishabh, just for confirmation, you are you able to see the poll?
Yes, yes.
Yep, I'm saying seeing some responses coming in. Still, I think few people are working on it. So we'll give 5-10 more seconds and before we can end the poll. All right, so I'm gonna end the poll in 5 seconds and we'll see the results. Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. And so interesting. Okay, so there are a lot of people already actively using Power BI, and or there are people who are thinking about leveraging Power BI or in early stages of Power BI evaluation. That's great to hear that. Thank you for that feedback. So we'll come back to our presentation, and what we see is how does the Power BI industry as a whole has evaluated over a period of time. And so this is a visual provided by Gartner that talks about the evolution of the BI industry. But before we even talk about evolution of different kinds of data insights, as prescribed by Gartner, historically, there was a culture about corporate BI where uh, any report any business user need was serviced by information technology team, and they will provide any report. So if they need any follow-up report, the request will go back to the IT, and IT will create the second report. So on and so forth, which was only basically the information management was only in the hands of few people within the organization. Then the next era came, which was around self-service analytics, where we started creating semantic layers and gave access to the business analyst and the data analyst kind of people who will be able to create their own reports, slice and dice the report. So from the information started to move away from handful of people to more people within the organization, but still creating report using semantic layer was a daunting task. And now we are in the era of end user BI. I just shared with you the tools like Power BI allows you to uh, access the information yourself about to create data mashups and clean data cleaning, and able to create the visualization and share them with other users. So like that's really the end user BI, which enables the information in the hands of everybody in the organization, or we should say at the fingertips of everybody within the organization. But when we look at the evolution of the BI industry, we started answering using leveraging the BI tools to answer questions like what really happened. So what were my sales for last year? What are my sales year to date? And what does the different variants look like? What are my sales by product, by region, by sales team? So basically looking at the analyzing the historical data, that's really descriptive analytics. So if we are looking at a customer information, so what customers churned last year, those kind of questions. And then we start, so the questions that we're trying to answer um, in a descriptive analytics are very binary. So the answer is going to be only one and the only one answer. Like, what were my sales for last year? You will have a one number that tells you the sales for last year. But when we try to answer like more complex questions, which could be like, why certain thing happens? So why did my sales drop? Or in a customer churn kind of example, why did my customer churn? Right? Those are so these are a more complex problems, but still we are looking at the historical data, looking at the past data to answer why certain thing happened as opposed to what certain thing happened. And then we start to move into the next level of BI, which is predictive analytics, where we are now moving from historical data to the futuristic data by doing forecasting, like what will be my sales for next year, or which customer will churn next year. So those are the kind of what questions, the futuristic questions that we're trying to do. And the last is the very top of the value chain is the prescriptive analytics, which is really what and how can we make it happen. Like, for example, which of my customers will churn and what can I do to take corrective actions. So we are prescribing actions to the business users so that they can take some actions as opposed to looking at the data and then deciding on what action should they take. So like these are all the different evolutions of the BI industry. And typically when we talk about techniques like artificial intelligence, machine learning, people tend to apply them to higher value chain of the BI, which is predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. The moment we start talking about AI ML, people think about, oh, I need to predict something or I need to take some actions using these techniques. But what we believe is it is not just evolving the sophistication in the product of providing complex predictive and prescriptive analytics. It is about infusing AI and ML at every step to create intuitive, interactive, beautiful, trustworthy experiences using leveraging data for every single user in the organization. It is not about just the data scientist who is going to leverage these techniques. It will be cool if we can leverage it on every step of this process. And that's really what we'll be discussing today about how can we leverage AI and ML kind of techniques to do even descriptive analytics or diagnostics analytics. So if we talk about descriptive analytics, typically when we talk about descriptive analytics, we are trying to answer what questions, like what were my sales, what was my sale for this region or for this product. And we try to create using Power BI tool or end user kind of BI tools, reports that gives answer about different questions. And those questions can be multiple questions. People can ask different questions and that can give rise to different kind of reports. We try to build filters, slicers, drill downs, drill through these kind of all the features within the report to answer the next question and the third question and the fourth question. But it is impossible to anticipate every single question a user may ask. And we might end up creating very complex, complicated report, which might become overwhelming for a normal user to even use that report. And think about a situation where you are sitting in a business review meeting or a board of directors meeting, and a question comes for which you do not know the answer. Would it not be cool if you have the tools to get the answer of the question right then and there, as opposed to getting back to the stakeholders or leadership team as a follow-up to that answer to their question? So what are some of the things that we can use is like, how can we leverage natural language to answer the question around it? So think about search engine tools like Google or Bing. So today, if you're looking for any information, we tend to go to search engine tools like Google or Bing to get answers. Would it not be cool if we can get some similar kind of techniques or features within our BI tools to ask the questions naturally and get the answers that we are looking for, as opposed to creating reports and try to find the answer using reports. And people will ask questions differently. How can we create a system that can naturally understand the questions and convert those questions into reports seamlessly? And with the continuous feedback loop, it learns and trains itself so that in future, if a question that was asked differently can be also understood by the BI tools and get the answer without any issues or breaking of the process. So how can we do natural language processes in a tools like Power BI? Okay, so I'll do a demo here and talk about a data set that I'm using, which has a customer feedback kind of a data. So I have my customer table, or these are the people who are customers of my product and services of my organization, and depending on their different subscription and the roles that they have given me the feedback on the product and services that I use and that they use for my company. And I have some associated reference data around which device they are using, what geography they belong to, what is the role that they have, what subscription that they have taken. So this is the data set that I'm trying to use to demonstrate this feature. And this is a Power BI a report that I have created to see some of the responses. So what you're seeing on the screen on the left side is a quick Q&A visual. So basically, we can ask a question as opposed to pre-create the report. We can ask a question ourselves to the tool. So there are some suggested questions that I can click on, show me the short top things by score, and it automatically creates a report that shows me the information in a horizontal bar chart. But we don't have to limit ourselves by asking predefined question. We can start to ask any question naturally. So let's see if I can ask a question about show me the count of customers by theme. So if I'm writing count of customers, and as I'm asking these questions, you can see Power BI is already giving me the answer that as a count of customers is 45,000 customers I have, but I'm not looking for count of customer. I want to see by individual themes that they have given me. And it's a start to, I think, describe me the question that I'm trying to ask. And it will give you a report that gives me all the count of customer by theme. So I'm naturally asking a question like the way I ask Google or Bing search engines, and I'm getting my answers. And the cool thing about this is these answers that you're getting are interactive. So let's with other visuals. So let's say if I am asking count by customers by theme in a specific region, and I have region in Germany. So it's giving me what are the customers by theme only for the region Germany. And if I click on 3,758 customers who have given me feedback on the price, it's actually filtered. All the other visuals gets filtered. So we are interactively asking a question, which is seamlessly working with all the other visuals in my report. And I'm able to now drill down to a specific information within Germany, and everything will start to work seamlessly. So that's one way of using techniques like natural language processing, the AI techniques inside Power BI without the need of a data scientist in this case. And once you create any report, if you are happy with the report, you can convert this, hit this one and convert this as a standard visual. So it allows users to create reports by asking question and then converting them into a standard report or a report kind of a visual. So these are some of the features that are available in Power BI, and based on the questions that we will be asking, it automatically learns and learns from the feedback loop that is inbuilt in the tool that we built. So that's really one example of how do we use natural language kind of techniques to answer descriptive analytics kind of questions. Let's look at the next level of question, which are a little bit more complicated than what question, which is why question, which is around diagnostics analytics, right? Why did certain thing happen? Why did my customer leave? Why did my sales drop? These kind of questions. And typically these questions are more complicated questions, and it requires more time and investigations to answer these kind of questions. Why kind of question? Because the answer is not binary, like one number. It could be with different reasons that can happen for to answer a why question. And historically, to answer why kind of questions, we have been using statistical techniques to come up with these kind of why questions. And historically, people are using tools like SAS or SPSS to build the statistical model to answer why questions. In recent years, techno tools and techniques like R and Python are becoming more and more popular, and statisticians are using these tools to answer these questions. But without knowing R or Python or SAS kind of techniques and these things, how can an end user answer these kind of questions within Power BI? So let's take a dive into how can we use Power BI to answer these kind of questions. So if I go back to my same Power BI, first thing that I can do is I can click on any of the visuals and hit analyze and find a distribution. So Power BI out of the box is able to tell you why price theme number is this. So it's run behind the scene, it is running regression analysis and giving you what is affecting the price of to be certain to this number, and it's saying that the tenure has the biggest impact on this price. So these are some statistical features available on every single visual in Power BI that allows you to answer why kind of questions for each of the data points we have. In addition to that, what I've done is I've created another visual that actually is giving you an answer about what is influencing my rating to be high. Or I can even ask question about what is influencing my rating to go low. So if I'm trying to answer why some of my customers are giving me high rating or these kind of questions, this visual is actually telling me this information. So this is what influences my rating. It's like a categorical analysis. It's a value is a categorical high and low. It could be continuous on a variable, which could be a number kind of a variable. Like think about sales, sales dollars, those kind of things. So to answer categorical analysis of why question, behind the scene, what Power BI is doing is it's using a point biserial correlation technique to answer this question. So what it is actually telling me is based on all the customers who have a tenure between 0 to 29 years, they have a 1.17 times more chance of giving you a better, higher rating than average. And if their role is a publisher role, then they have 1.12x chance of giving you a higher rating than average rating. So that this starts to give you the information about why my rating is high or versus why my rating is low. And you can see these are the different segments of the clusters of the data that it is creating, and gives you the definition of out of all the data points we have, this first cluster contains 3,736 data points, which is 8% of the data. And these are the characteristics of the segment. These are the customers whose company size is between 5 and 5,000 and 50,000, who are not in UK area. So any area but UK, and who have a publisher role. This is the first cluster. And so you can see various different kinds of cluster. And another beauty about this is it is interactive with everything else you create inside Power BI. So if I have a slicer here, and I can use a slicer. This this information will change so that you can see when I am only looking at why customers who have a company size of less than 5,000 gives me a high rating. The biggest influencer is the publisher role as opposed to the tenure that we saw earlier. So that's another way of using AI kind of techniques. You are using clustering and regression to answer diagnostic question of why my rating is high or low. Here's another visual we can use to build visualizations in Power BI, which is also going to get answers about why, and using AI and ML kind of techniques. So if I am trying to understand why my score, average score is 7.42, what really happens, I can start to analyze what is the biggest impact on my score to be 7.42, an average score to 7.42. And it is telling me that based on the roles has the biggest impact overall. And people who have a publisher role, they give you much higher rating than the people who have a consumer role. So this is using AI techniques that Power BI is leveraging behind the scene to understand what is causing this score to be go 7.42. And I can click on any of these areas to drill down what is causing publishers to give me high rating. So if I see the publisher, so people who rate, who are publisher and who rate us on usability, they give you even higher rating than anybody else. So these are the techniques of like us answering why questions, like diagnostics analytics, that is available in Power BI by using these kind of visuals. So I hope that gives you some flavor about why and how can we answer why kind of questions in Power BI. So the next one is predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, the higher end of the value chain questions. But before we get into more into that, let's launch our second poll and see if I can get some feedback from the team here to see. How do I launch mine? If I do this, Rishabh, can you confirm whether you can see the second poll?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you. So let's spend some time to understand, do you currently use data warehouse for reporting purposes, or you directly build reports without a data warehouse, or using transactional data source, database as a source, or anything else that you are using? So I'm seeing people are still working on it, so great feedback is coming. And we'll wait for 15 more seconds to see if we can get more responses. All right, in 5 more seconds, we will close the poll, and then we'll see the results. Okay, we are ending the poll now and sharing the results. So seems like a lot of people use Excel files to build their Power BI reports or any of the reporting that they are doing, and followed by some transactional database. So there are some people who already have enterprise data warehouse or a big data mart, but there are more people use Power BI tools to directly build their reports without going through the data warehouse route. Interesting way of doing things, and I'm glad that people are able to leverage Power BI with or without a data warehouse. Thanks for that feedback. So when we talk about trying to answer questions around predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, of like looking into the forward in the time on answering what will happen, like what will be my sales, which users will churn or leave my organization, and try to take some prescriptive action. So how can we do that? We typically use machine learning to answer these kind of questions. Like why typically people use BI techniques to answer which customer churn or why did they churn, and they start using machine learning, artificial intelligence to answer questions about which customers will churn, or what will be my sales, or taking a prescriptive action is what can I do to target using a marketing campaign to stop customers from being churned, or how can I attract them to stay with my organization. Those are some of the ways we try to use these advanced techniques. And so this is an example of a customer segmentation dashboard that we have worked with one of our retail customers. So here we used looking at the transactional data of the customer purchases of the different product and services of this retailer. We have implemented a technique called RFM algorithm, which stands for recency, frequency, and monitoring. What it really does is it looks at how recently a customer has purchased with my organization, how frequently they make purchase with my organization, and what is the monetary value they buy my product and services, like what is the dollar amount. So by combining these three things, we can understand who are my loyal customers and who are the customers I'm at the risk of losing. And I can take some prescriptive actions to come up with some targeted marketing campaigns to target specific customers. So in this case, I think people who are recent and loyal customers, I know that they are my customers who are making my transactions with my organization, and the people who I'm the risk of losing, either I should be targeting them, or maybe I think I should target customers who needs attention. So if I can follow up with a marketing campaign, give them some promotion, give them a coupon, discount coupon, or any kind of offer, maybe I will be able to re-engage them with my organization. So that was really the idea of creating this customer segmentation. And we use machine learning techniques like RFM algorithms, Clara clustering techniques to build this visual for a retailer. But building machine learning algorithms is a challenge. It requires specialized knowledge and sophisticated techniques, and having resident data scientists on board to build these techniques. But that becomes a challenging factor, is even though these are the high value and high return of investment, but we may not have access to data scientists available to implement these kind of techniques across the board. And this process overall is a complex and much involved process. So this is a simplified life cycle of a machine learning implementation. What happens is we start with the historical data. We do the feature selection of which of these different features I want to use to predict for future. And then we distribute that our historical data into a training data set that I use to train my machine learning model, and into a testing model data set that I use to test my model. And then once I create the model, I use hyperparameters to tune and tweak the model to make it optimized, and then evaluate my model to make sure it is giving me the right accuracy and optimized model. So those processes requires data scientists and machine learning developers to build those things. But for an end user, this is a lot more involved process, and it would be very, very huge value addition to the end users if we can somehow create these individual complex, complicated steps involved in the machine learning process into like a black box that takes the historical data as input and gives me an optimized model that I can then use it for my data insights that I'm looking to do. So if for end users, they do not really have to worry about what really happens inside the box. But what really also will be very important is just by creating a box, we cannot make it a black box that we do not know what goes in and what comes out, what really happened inside. So we also need to make it transparent, where we need to make these results explainable. So end user is able to explain that why machine learning model is giving me these results, right? So that is called building this mechanism transparent and automated, which is seamless for an end user to understand what really happened inside. And what we do is we use machine learning techniques within Power tools like Power BI to automate and make it transparent, to transform the data, to create the model, and then able to explain the results. So if I use a FICO analogy to explain this, if we are using historical data to predict what is an animal that we are seeing in our data set. Typically, a machine learning process does all this processing and tell you that this is a cat. And but users may have questioned that why are you calling this a cat? How do you know this is a cat? So it will be really good that if the model is not only able to tell us it's a cat, but also able to explain that this is a cat because we are seeing that it has furs, it has whiskers, and it has claws. So if I know this information, then I get more confidence and trust in that, yes, whatever the prediction this model is giving me is correct prediction because I understand how did it how it came up with this conclusion. So that's really the explainable AI, not just black box. And what Power BI does is Power BI, if on a premium Power BI premium service, allows you to create techniques which is called automated machine learning, AutoML, to build uh, different machine learning algorithms which is related to classification, regression, and binary predictions. Those kind of models you can build that will take your data set, build any of these machine learning models depending on what you're trying, what is your target outcome, whether it is a categorical or continuous variable, uh, and able to build this model for you without knowing the underlying details of the machine learning. And then you can use this model to understand the reasons behind this model and what is the accuracy of this model, and use this model to work with your own data to predict, like in this case, example that I'll be giving about churn. So which customers will likely to churn going forward. So these are the other techniques like to apply in Power BI to answer like those predictive and prescriptive analytics use case without knowing data science or without having data scientists on the organization. If you are a Power BI premium customers, you will be able to leverage tools like automated ML to build these kind of techniques within Power BI. So before we conclude, I'll show you some other solutions that we can do in Power BI. So I think I showed you an example of a categorical variable of what causes ratings to go high. But if you are dealing with a continuous variable, like in this case, sale price, and this is a house pricing data. So what causes price of a house to be higher or increase over time? So this we can use those Pearson correlation techniques that I mentioned earlier to come up with the answer of why the kind of a question. In this case, if the exterior quality of the house is excellent, the price is likely that the price will be $193,000 higher than the average price. And if the house is in Norridge neighborhood, this is a data, Seattle data. So if the house is in the Norridge area, then the likelihood of the price to be higher is about $158,000. So that's another example of a continuous variable we can use to implement diagnostics analytics. And this is a little bit higher end use case where we are looking at the various different hotels in Hawaii, and based on the feedback customers have given on hotels.com on the Hawaii hotels, we are able to come up with different reviews based on that. So if I have to show you the data set, so I have all the customers about based on which country they came from, what is the age of the customer, what kind of different products and features they purchase, what was the gender, and based on that we can see what reviews they have given, and whether they will return or not, all those things, and what comments they have written on the review. So these are the different comments. So what we can do is we can apply AI ML kind of techniques to implement sentiment analytics of these comments and give a sentiment score, and also identify whether the sentiment is positive or negative and what exactly are they really mainly talking about in their comments. We can also use image analytics techniques based on the images that they have posted on hotels.com on the reviews to provide different tags to identify whether this image is of what particular beach image or pool image or spa images, those kind of things. And we can extract key phrases from their reviews. So using all these different cognitive services techniques by leveraging the entire Azure ecosystem, we can build Power BI dashboard. And now we can do things like, I want to see what is the overall sentiment of the 4-island hotels. And it will tell me these are the different reviews, pictures, and these are the comments that they have given me. And I can build a lot more advanced level dashboards in Power BI by leveraging some advanced AI techniques. So quick disclaimer here is to build something like this. It is a two-step process. First step one is we build machine learning models in Azure Cloud, and then we integrate those machine learning models within Power BI, and then we can build this visualization. So this is a two-step process, but by leveraging these two steps, we will be able to build advanced analytics inside Power BI. Seems like there's a question. Yep, I think people are asking for whether they can have access to the recording. So Rishabh, I'm sure we can make it available, right?
Yes, it's being recorded.
Okay. All right, so these are some advanced techniques we can use in Power BI, which will go one step more than just doing everything in Power BI by leveraging additional Azure services. And that actually brings me with my third poll question, which is gonna be around cloud platform. And what I've done is I've launched another poll just to understand where are you in your cloud journey and which platforms cloud you use. So please take a moment to give me some feedback around do you leverage cloud? If you do, which cloud do you leverage? So we can understand how can we implement these kind of techniques in Power BI. All right, so I think I'm getting good responses. So we'll give some more time for people to respond. All right, we'll close the poll in 5 more seconds. So pardon the background phone. All right, so I'm going to stop the poll, and so we can look at the results. So most of the people are on Microsoft Azure Cloud. That's good to hear. And other than that, there are a lot of people also using multiple clouds, including Azure. So that's good to hear. And other people are also on AWS, and some of them are also in Google. Okay, and with that, let's come back to our presentation. So to close and wrap it up, today's discussion, what takeaway we have is the rise of citizen data scientists. By what do I mean by that is we not only have specialized data scientists, which will always have a place in the organization to do advanced analytics, but we can use the features like we just walked through in last 50 or so minutes to put this information in the hands of an end user who understands their domain very well, who understand the data very well, may not know the techniques to build AI ML kind of models, but we can make them citizen data scientists by giving them access to these tools using Power BI to leverage these in their day-to-day work. Second thing is innovation comes from democratizing the use of statistical methods. So we looked at a lot of diagnostics analytics kind of features of answering questions which typically in the historically was answered by statistical tools, by giving these kind of techniques and tools to the end user, who may be able to answer a much more deeper level of question of why certain things are happening in their organization, to take some corrective answers. And then the last and not the least is users need answers to different questions, and they need answers quickly, intuitively, and anywhere. So even if they're sitting in a board meeting and a question was asked, which they may not have a reporter readily available, but if they can answer this question, ask this question and get answers from the BI tool, they will be able to answer and have a much more impactful meeting by having these tools available to their fingertips. So those are the three takeaways that, and what Power tools like Power BI and with expertise like Accion Labs, we enable data culture in the organization. We make information, put information in the hands and on the fingertips of everybody in the organization, so they can be much more productive and make better product and services, improve productivity, empower their people to drive the organization forward. So in the end, we will close with this saying that no matter whether we are catering to a data scientist or an analyst or an end user, we can use tools and techniques within tools like Power BI to build data experiences with their data, to generate data insights which are trustworthy. So trust is a very important thing. So with the information is trustworthy, it is intuitive, and it is presentable in a way that tells a good story around our data and make the organization successful. So with that, Rishabh, I'm going to hand it back to you to see if we have some time to take some questions and answers from the community.
Yes, of course. So if anyone has any questions or anything at all they want to ask, just there's a Q&A option on the bottom, I believe. So if you give it a couple minutes, if anyone wants to ask a question, go ahead. Tarun, someone is asking, can you publish the Power BI dashboard to a website similar to a Tableau public?
Okay, so yep. So short answer is yes, you can, but it is, so there's no Power BI public like we have Tableau public. But if you want to publish your Power BI dashboards with the external audience who may not be on your tenant, Power BI tenant, you can work with your Power BI administrator and make it accessible out to the public, and then you can publish it. That URL will be able to, other people will be able to access it. So it's a two-step process as opposed to a Tableau public, which is a public-facing Tableau online.
Thank you. And then, sorry.
I hope I answered your question.
And someone else is asking, can we integrate Python code in Power BI?
Can we? Yes, we can integrate not only Python code, we can also integrate R code. So if you are a Python programmer or R programmer and you have written some scripts that you want to run it inside Power BI, you can embed those scripts directly inside Power BI and create visuals in Power BI that will be based on the Python code. And it will also interact with other non-Python visuals within Power BI. So yeah, answer is yes, you can do it intuitively with Power BI.
Great, thank you. And if anyone has any other questions, I think we have time for maybe a couple more. Okay, so we just got a question. I already use Power BI. We already have data scientists who use Jupyter notebooks. How can I combine the two?
You already have Power BI and you have Jupyter notebooks. How can you combine the two? Yes. So I think similar to what I was talking about, there are multiple ways we can do. One is you can write your Jupyter notebook if it is written in Python or R inside Power BI and run it that way, like I just mentioned in the previous one. Or you can use those Jupyter notebook programs that you have written into Azure machine learning or Azure Databricks kind of techniques and publish them as a web service and able to integrate them within Power BI. You can consume it. Something similar to the hotel example I was showing. You can leverage those kind of Azure auto machine learning techniques to integrate with Power BI and then use them in Power BI. Thank you for the question.
Yes, great question. Thank you. And then anyone else? We can take another one if anyone has another question. So yes, someone wants to know, do you need cloud to leverage full Power BI capabilities?
So Power BI itself is a cloud service. I mean, there is a Power BI report server which can be installed on premises, but mostly typically people use Power BI as a cloud service. You can build Power BI dashboards, reports, visuals by connecting to your on-premises data sources. It could be Excel files in your OneDrive, SharePoint, your network drive, or anywhere else. Or it could be your on-premises databases like SQL Server or Data Warehouse or operational databases, and publish them in Power BI service or the Power BI cloud. To leverage full capabilities, like I mentioned, Power BI automated machine learning, that if you are looking to do auto ML kind of features, you will require Power BI premium. It still does not mean that you need your data to be in cloud. You can still do it. But I think to get the full capability, if you are leveraging tools like Azure machine learning I just mentioned, the value proposition and the return on investment becomes so much higher if you are leveraging Azure cloud or any other cloud along with Power BI to get ROI, better ROI, and a high value for your businesses if you have that kind of a combination. And I saw that, I think, from the responses that a lot of people are already using Azure or some other cloud. So I'm sure you are unlocking some of the value propositions that cloud platforms bring, as well as able to deliver some compelling data insights. Thank you for the question.
Great, I think we have one more, and it's, can I use the streaming data from Flume stored in HDFS and make dashboards out of it?
Okay, so if your data is in HDFS, Power BI actually provides you over 115 connectors to connect, and HDFS is also supported. So if depending on whether HDFS is on premise or it's in cloud like HD Insight or maybe even a Hadoop on VM, you can connect to these data sources in Power BI and build visualizations in Power BI. So the answer is yes.
Great. And then Tarun, if anyone has any follow-up questions or wants more information, is there anywhere they can either get to you or get any more information?
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to share. I mean, if you can reply to the email that you received, if Rishabh will be able to share my email address. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me through email. And if needs, we can have a follow-up meeting. So Rishabh, if you can share my email address with the audience.
Yeah, I will send out, to make it easier, I'll send out an email to everyone that attended.
Sure.
We can potentially get the recording, but I'll give you guys his email so anyone can follow up with any other questions that they have.
Thank you very much. I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you for great questions. I enjoyed answering them. I hope you were able to get something out of today's webinar, and it was nice to present to you. And we'll be in touch again for something else in future.
Yes, thank you so much, Tarun. It was very informative, and thank you everyone for attending. Really appreciate it. And look out for that email then. Thank you.